Hello, my name is Trisha Ruano, and today we're going to talk about the nervous system. So, as we have studied several of the other parts of the body, we can understand that they're all intricate and connected. The brain to the spinal cord and the bones. So, we're going to further understand more of that and how they're all related and what each part and function does. So first we need to go back and review about the brain. So because this is very important and the it is connected to the nervous system. They all work together, as we know. So the brain is a complex organ that controls thought, emotion, memories, motor skills, every process that regulates the body, and it's different signals caused by when you're tired or you feel energized. But the reason why the brain is able to understand that is because of the senses and the information that the nervous system brings to the brain and is able to perceive that. It's not just like the brain randomly knows that. So a very important part of this is the spinal cord. So the spinal cord, the primary role of the spinal cord is to send signals from the brain to the body, and it's also to send sensory from the body to the brain. So the brain and body work together to make the body function. So again, these are some of the important parts of the spinal cord that we can see and how they're related. So let's talk about the central nervous system. The central nervous system responsibilities include receiving, processing, and responding to sensory information. For example, the central nervous system sends signals to the brain, which then signal the body. And there is also the peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system plays a role in sending information from different areas of the body back to the brain, as well as carrying out the commands from the brain to various areas of the body. This includes digestion, heart rate, and blood pressure. So that's something to kind of differentiate them, because they do sound like they do the same exact thing, the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system, but it just kind of remember the peripheral nervous system is responsible for digestion, heart rate, and blood pressure, kind of like the more intricate parts of the body. So in order for all of these senses to carry out and send messages, and the way they work is through neurons. So the neurons provide this information, and that happens when ATP is caused. So the nucleus of the neuron, the axon, which is how the messages travel when ATP, and then this is when it causes a synaptic terminal. So neurons are responsible for sending and receiving neurotransmitters that carry information between the brain cells. So if you burn your cell, the sensory neurons will send signals to the rest of the body. So this is a picture of the cell body, which we studied earlier in the semester. So the cell body is known as a soma, which is a cell body contains genetic information, maintains the neuron structures, and provides energy to drive activities. Example, the cells take nutrients from food and convert it into energy. Yeah, axons. So axon terminal, this is a very important because the axon terminal is the button-like ending of an axon. You can see it there. It looks kind of like, and then the little tree parts are called dendrites. So the axon as a way to make a synaptic contacts all the other neurons with the effector cell. Axons carry electrical impulses from the neuron travel away to receive by other neurons. And they do this when ATP is created. We remembered ATP earlier from mitochondria, which creates ATP, and that's how it is able to create energy from food stored. So axons also create ATP, but they do these electrical impulses so they can travel and also receive information from their neurons. So neurons carry nerve impulses away from the cell body. So again, here are the dendrites, which look like little trees. Dendrites receive input from many other neurons and carry those signals to the cell body. So for example, the dendrites of sensory neurons may sense changes in pressure and temperature, pH in the environment. So that's the dendrite, the little tree-like. And the axon, remember, is the long tail, the snake-like tail. The axon terminal is like at the end of the little tree-like axon hillock. So the axon hillock acts as an administrator, sums up the total signals received both in inhibitory and excitatory signals. For example, they carry electrical impulses that are the means of communication within the brain, between the brain and the rest of the body. So that is very important. The axon hillock is a conical projection that connects the cell of the body neuron with the axon of the neuron. So you can take a few minutes to look at that. You can see that right there. So the axon terminal is the function is to release neurotransmitters when stimulated by an electrical signal carried by the axon. So for example, they carry electrical impulses that are the means of communication within the brain and between the brain and the rest of the body. So we can take a look at this and how that looks like and make sense of it. So when that occurs, a synapse can occur. Synapse is now what we're going to talk about. So a synapse is very, very important because synapses connect sensory organs like those that detect pain or touch the peripheral nervous system, which we talked about earlier, to the brain. For example, synapses connect neurons in the brain to neurons to the rest of the body, and from those neurons to the muscles. So they are very important. And myelin sheaths. Myelin sheaths coating is that like they kind of look like marshmallows almost that are on the axon trail. So a sleeve sheath is wrapped around each nerve cell in this protective layer of lipids and a protein that coats the main body of the section and of a neuron, called axon. Remember, we talked about the axons, like the long snake-like. The myelin sheath allows electrical impulses to transmit quickly and efficiently along the nerve cells. So that is like the main point of that, is to be able to create these impulses to transmit quickly and efficiently. So, when think about like when you get burned, right? It doesn't take your body a long time, like 5 minutes, for you to move your hand away. Well, hopefully it doesn't, it's not that's other, deficiencies or problems with the body. But pretty much we know that this is happening really quickly, right? So the myelin sheath allows those electrical impulses to transmit quickly and efficiently, efficiently, because if it's taking too long for this message to get across, what good would that be? It wouldn't be efficient. So the nose of Ranvier. Yeah, so in between those myelin sheaths, there is like a small gap, and that is called the nose of Ranvier. So what is their purpose? Nose of Ranviers are gaps in the myelin sheath coating on the neural axon. Nodes of Ranvier allow for ions to diffuse in and out of the neuron, propagating the electrical signal down the axon. So they do have a purpose. It's not just random gaps there. It is to allow ions to diffuse in and out of the neuron. So the nucleus, so yeah, we've talked about this and it comes back. This is still important. The nodes of Ranvier allow for ions to diffuse in and out of the neuron, so propagating electrical signals down the axon. For example, the nucleus contains all four genetic information and only genes that are necessary for skin cells. So yeah. Ganglion, right? So basal ganglia, or basal nuclei in the cerebral cortex decides on body movement. Basal ganglia, millions of nerve cell bodies executes movement. Ganglia provides and relays points of intermediary connections between different neurological structures of the body. For example, they deliver information about the body positions and sensory feedback relating to the organs. And it is important to understand the different cells. There's unipolar, which has one cell body. There is bipolar. We can see why it's because of the myelin. How there's two, and then there is the pseudo unipolar, and there's the multipolar. So unipolar neurons transmit touch information from the body surface to the spinal cord. Example, these neurons have a high, so these neurons have a single long axon that is responsible for sending electrical signals. So the unipolar has one single long axon. The pseudo-unipolar cells, the pseudo-unipolar cells neuron is a type of neuron which has one extension from its cell body. For example, afferents that project into the spinal cord from the skin muscle are typically pseudo-polar. Bipolar. So bipolar cells are one in the main retinal interneurons and provide the main pathways to ganglion cells. Examples transmit efferent motor signals to the control muscles. Multipolar cells. Multipolar neurons can transfer the most information between cells, and they are most common form of neuron in the human nervous system. So yeah, multipolar cells are the most common form. Glial cells. So glial cells help support, connect, and protect the neurons in the central peripheral nervous system. For example, glial cells are a general term for many types of glial cell. Is microglial, astrocytes that look like star-like, Schwann cells, each having their own functions within the body. Yeah. So astrocytes regulate synaptic transmission. Again, going back to the synapses that are very important, and plasticity to protect neurons against toxic compounds and support metabolic to ensure their optimal functioning. So oligodendrocytes allow the fast and efficient transfer of neural communication through the myelination of axons. Again, it is important for the body, these signals that are being received that are extremely important for our survival to be received efficiently and quickly. So oligodendrocytes allow fast and efficient transfer of neural communication through the myelination of axons. Schwann cells. The Schwann cell plays a vital role in maintaining peripheral nervous system. A Schwann cell forms the myelin sheath by wrapping its plasma membrane, concentrating around the inner axon. Ependymal cells. So there's like the cilia, you can see that. They are neuroepithelial, and they line up in the spinal cord and cerebral vesicles. Yeah. So this is the end of the presentation. I hope that you found this very useful and informative. Thank you for your time.